Welcome to our Tuesday, March 14th agenda session. I'll now open the meeting, but I will take a motion on the minutes first. Thank you very much. The minutes will stand without objection. Ordinances on final reading. Council, if you would follow along with me. Wastewater item, which we have covered in District 8. Ordinances on first reading. We do have a council office item A on the agenda for this evening. Just looking around, okay? If you, while I'm looking down at the agenda, if you would also speak out, maybe my ears will pick up on you if you'd like to speak on an item. Planning items we have on first reading this evening. We do have a withdraw item. Yes.
That'll be item E.
Which is, item E, yes. Which is case number 2023-0011. So we will look for a motion on that this evening to see where that, in which direction that goes. Under, yes, sir, Councilman.
Speaking of withdrawals, item H, our revisions to the C2 ordinance, we've had a lot of input from the community, and I feel like it might be best at this point. I think there's quite a bit more work that needs to be done here. If I do have the light at that point in time, I'm going to make a motion to withdraw that item as well.
Thank you for that notice, Councilman. Yes, okay. Under resolutions, council office, we have 3 appointments to the community advisory committees. District 7's been busy. Thank you. Under finance, Ms. Haley did give us an update last week explaining this is a savings of a substantial amount related to bonds. So we appreciate that update from her. Dr. Bird, anything to add on that?
No.
Covered it? All right. Thank you. Under legal, we do have a public hearing this evening on 5619 Clark Road. And then we have a special exceptions permit. This is in District 4. I have been tracking this very strongly with Ben Taylor and Mr. Price, and everything is worked out, I believe, ready to go. Last I heard. I'm looking around. Karen, we're good? Okay. And there's a lot of good work went into that. I appreciate Mr. Taylor's efforts working with Mr. Price.
So,
Ma'am.
I just want to confirm that the version that we have linked on our agenda is in fact the appropriate version that reflects the changes.
The version that I checked the link earlier today, the city attorney's office had uploaded it with the revised PUD plan. I think it's the 4th or 5th agenda item in that packet, and it's highlighted, it's a color item.
Okay.
But yes, and I double checked it against the email that we had received.
Terrific. Just wanted to ensure we're voting on the appropriate version.
That's the preferred newly revised plan.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Councilwoman. Under transportation, we have a item H and item I, 4 and 6. Very excited to see that project moving forward in District 4, the Goodwin Road extension. Councilwoman, Dr. Burge, any questions on your item 6 under transportation today?
No,
All
just
right.
yay.
All right, you get a whoop whoop from me too, so fantastic. So if you would take a look at next week's proposed agenda. Do the look around the dais here for questions. Ordinances on final reading, which we will cover in our first reads on planning this evening. Moving into resolutions next week, Community Advisory Committee. Also a Department of Economic Development Emergency Solution Grants Funds from HUD, or THDA, my apologies. Another CDBG under Mayor's Office, another appointment to Form-Based Code Committee. And under planning, we have an interagency agreement. I flagged this one. Karen, will you verify for us? That's a substantial amount of money that I wanted to ensure it's not actually coming from the city coffers, but that is actually coming out of RPA's reserve fund. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
As mentioned, the interlocal agreement shows details that the reserve fund will be used on projects and this will be coming out of that. And it's, should be in the resolution materials provided.
Very good. Any questions on that item? Want to make sure that everyone understood that. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, and we'll take a look at purchases. Remember, we have 4 purchases this evening. We have 1 emergency purchase, 1 sole source to report. Any questions on our purchases for this evening? I'm seeing no hands or nods or grunts or anything else, so we'll take it from there. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Question. Last week, Mr. Chair, we spoke about the noise ordinance,
Yes, ma'am.
and it was supposed to go on in 2 weeks.
I believe that was correct, yes, supposed to go on 2 weeks, and we're not
This
seeing.
is 1 week and one is, and
28, I think
that's, yeah.
Do not right now, but we will.
Okay,
We do not, but we will, so thank you for bringing that up.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to
Yes, sir.
correct, I believe you said there were 4 purchases, but there are actually 8 purchases.
Are there 8
Just wanna make
purchases?
sure
I
that's accurate.
apologize.
Say yeah.
Yeah, all right, very good. Thank you for that correction. Are there any questions on our, 8 purchases? Okay? Yep. For those following along, purchases are sent out in advance for council to review and ask questions, and again today at 3:30 session, so.
Renewals.
Future considerations, if you would take a look at our 3-week outlook and raise your hand, please, if you have any questions. Seeing no questions on future considerations, if you do, please reach out to the administration. Departments, we have none today. We do have an economic development committee and a legislative committee this afternoon. Let me also please note that we will need an attorney-client today after this meeting.
Yes.
Mr. Noblett, thank you. And also, if you'll look, we do have a public hearing scheduled. I want to make this public now, and then I'll do it again at 6 o'clock. The Chattanooga Climate Action Plan next Tuesday, and that will be the same parameters as tonight's public hearing, which will be 30 minutes and a limit on 2 minutes apiece for individual speakers. Okay? All right, well, we are ready to move into committees. I believe Economic Community Development is up first. Councilwoman Coonrod, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, I'll come sit in that chair of yours that's all the way on the ground. I love that.
Look, I gotta get, Can I get approval of the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. And clerk, if you will read next week's agenda resolution B.
Can't hear.
Will you, next week's resolution B?
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Economic Development to apply for and, if awarded, accept emergency solution grant funds from the Tennessee Housing Development Agency for an approximate amount of $134,375.
C, please.
A resolution to amend Resolution Number 30674, authorizing the administrator for the Department of Economic and Community Development to utilize $400,000 in Community Development Block Grant CARES Act funding to provide assistance to eligible landlords with vacant units to complete maintenance and minor repairs with an increase of $100,000 for a total amount of $500,000.
All right, thank you. Jermaine, what you got for us?
Good afternoon. So today we have an update from our Office of Workforce Development, which of course is part of our Department of Economic Development. Today's update will be provided by Quentin Lawrence, who is our Director of Workforce Strategy. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council, for this opportunity to present to you today. Hopefully I will navigate the technology well for everyone. But again, my name is Quentin Lawrence, Director of Workforce Strategy. So I've been here with the city now since August 15th. and have had a chance to talk with a number of you and try to partner with some of you on some of our workforce initiatives. And so really excited to be here with you and just share a little bit of what we've done since I've been here. And so a little bit about who we are and a brief history, and some of you may already know. As Jermaine said, we are part of the Economic Development Department. We were started in 2018 in response to the 2016 Bridging the Gap report by the National Resource Network. And they basically highlighted, go figure, that housing costs were pretty high back then and that low wages were also a factor. And so the report really focused on how that impacted those who were hardest to house and hardest to employ. And so a lot of those factors were focused on education, socioeconomic standing, certain communities that were impacted by some of those disparities. And so one of the suggestions that the report made was that there needed to be a workforce convener at the city level who could actually pull partners together. And so as you can see from the third bullet, that's why we were designed, to be that convener. And even though there are a number of partners that are in the ecosystem, there are a number of other organizations that have engaged in convening efforts. As far as from the city level at that time, there wasn't a representative, and so our department was formed in 2018. And so our mission is that we exist to cultivate strategic partnerships and collaborative solutions that lead to robust workforce development pathways, skills training, and household income growth for all Chattanoogans. And as a result of us doing that work, we envision, or we hope, that our work will lead to a more diverse, thriving, and resilient workforce earning a living wage and contributing to the prosperity of our great city. So in that mission, that may sound like a mouthful, so you're probably like, where did you get that from? Well, I'm glad that you asked. It is deeply embedded in our One Chattanooga plan. And so it is aligned to goals 2 and 5. Goal 2 being to catalyze economic vitality in the Black community, and specifically priority number 7, to create robust and accessible workforce development pathways. And again, there are a number of partners that are in the workforce ecosystem, many of them doing great things. But as far as bringing those efforts together so that there are pathways for all people to find a way into whatever employment is going to put them in the best position possible, there hasn't been a good concerted effort. And so as the Office of Workforce Development, that's our hope, that we can step into that space and be able to work with people in that regard. Goal number 5, building a competitive regional economy. Priority number 25 falls under that, and that is to grow household income for all Chattanoogans through workforce development and skills training. So again, it ties back into the overall focus on workforce development, but making sure that individuals are receiving the type of skills training needed. And many times that's focused on the hard technical skills, but also too, we know that individuals also need soft skills. So sometimes that's around more interpersonal skills, being able to work well with others, engage with others, and really to be civil with others in the workplace. And so current partnerships since I've been here, 2 of our biggest ones have been with Human Resources and our Public Safety Department, which falls under our Office of Community Health. So with Human Resources, in partnership with them, we've helped them pull together 2 job fairs, one focused on our wastewater treatment plant at Moccasin Bend and with Public Works. And as a result, 319 applicants actually showed up. They were hungry for positions with the city, and out of that, and we'll talk a little bit later about that, 29 of those applicants actually were from the New Life Fair. But to date, we know that there are 33 new hires that have been brought on and counting. So as you can imagine, 319 people, that's a lot of people to count. And so our Human Resources Department has been hard at work trying to vet through all of those individuals and see if there's a place for them with the city. But also too, we've partnered with Public Safety, and specifically with the Public Safety Coordinator, Troy Rogers, in his New Life Job Fair. As many of you know, they've been hosting these fairs since 2017, and so we can't take credit for the work that they've done, but we did partner with them by also bringing our HR department together alongside of them for opportunities. And so on day 1 for them, they had 103 participants, and on day 2, 121, and same people. So they weren't new participants, but 121 persons showed up on day 2, and there were 21 employers that participated who were actively engaged, wanting to work with the justice-involved community. So we were really encouraged about that, had a chance to address them during that time myself. And as I stated, the City of Chattanooga HR, they're currently reviewing 25 applications, 4 of those focused on those who already have CDL, so that's where the 29 comes in. And right now, they are still trying to vet through those new hire results. And as we know, many times when you're working with private employers, they do kind of hold those results close to the vest. And so Troy and his team are working hard to get those results in. But the fact that there are employers that are wanting to be at the table to work with justice-involved individuals, and the fact that our HR department was able to partner this go-around after all of these years with Troy and his team and saying that we want to partner in that effort was really encouraging. And so just a few highlights from external partnerships that we've had, and you'll see also too, there are some city partners sprinkled in there as well. So with Chattanooga State, we actually partnered with them towards the end of last year for one of their professional development cohorts. And that was focused on IT and customer service. And so we actually worked with individuals that were being assisted by the Office of Family Empowerment. So that's another partnership internally that we've leveraged. And just a quick note there, one of the things that I stated coming into this office was to make sure that we broke down silos internally and externally. And not that it's always intentional that we don't work together. Sometimes we're running hard, trying to do a lot of things, but we definitely wanted to make sure that our office was able to tie some of those efforts together and really deliver services in a more efficient and effective way for our constituents. And so by partnering with OFE, Office of Family Empowerment, we were able to connect 8 of their referrals to Chattanooga State. Because they were receiving referrals from other partners, 2 of them got accepted, and so we helped them to try to redirect them to some other opportunities, but they had a total of 10 participants. And right now, those 2 participants, along with the others, I'm proud to say they're in a 90-day internship that hopefully at the end of that process, and that started mid-February, but at the end of that process, the hope is that that will end in full-time employment for them. And so we also hosted the Midtown Job Fair, and Councilwoman Burris was instrumental in pulling that together. And again, it's another one of those initiatives where even with me stepping in, some of those wheels were already in motion. So the good thing is that we've had our eye on the ball with trying to keep those partnerships going. But in partnering with Councilwoman Burrs and Urban Story Ventures, we were able to attract 80 attendees to that event. We had 33 employer partners that were there. And again, with 33 employer partners, sometimes it's hard to get the information that you want. And so we're still trying to get some of that information, get those results tallied. But we do know that there were hires made from that. It's just a matter now of just working with those partners to get that information to us. But again, it's the power of partnership, not only with private industry, but also with our partners internally with the city that help bring that along. And then lastly, for external partnership opportunities, I've been a part of the Unum Workforce Development Forum, and that started back in October. And so I'll commend Unum for this. They actually stepped up and stepped in to say, we know that there are disparities in the workforce, and we want to be a part of the solution. And not only do we want to be a part of the solution, we want to help bring people together and bring organizations together. And so about 30 workforce development partners, which includes, as you can see, the Chamber of Commerce, EPB, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Southeast Tennessee Development District, and several others, we came together to discuss those disparities and solutions that could help meet the needs of the individuals that truly were in need of all of those services that we could all bring to the table. And so out of that, we've been developing collaborative solutions to try to remove barriers. And some of those barriers, of course, that many of us know about, childcare and transportation, are kind of hot button topics that we've talked about. And so a number of the partners have broken down into smaller groups to address those disparities and how we can work together as private industry, public, and then also nonprofit organizations. And as a result, right now, we are currently talking with Unum about hosting a hiring event potentially in one of our communities. And so they're looking to see if they can get support from some other businesses also. But they have definitely put their money where their mouth is. They have definitely stepped out there and been a great partner. And they are willing to explore other options as well when it comes to hiring and trying to figure out different models that may be conducive for underserved communities. And so a couple of opportunities that you may already know about. So the Build Within initiative, as many of you know, and for those that don't, it's an organization based out of Washington, D.C. that received an $8 million Department of Labor grant. And the focus on that was to establish apprenticeship innovation districts. And so Chattanooga was actually selected to be one of those 5 apprenticeship innovation districts. And so what that entails is we will actually be receiving $1.6 million in resources and support that's aimed at helping businesses to create their own apprenticeship programs. And so a big part of that is their cloud-based apprenticeship management system, which actually helps an employer manage from end to end the moment a person enters the apprenticeship to the moment that they offload off of that apprenticeship and actually go into full-time employment. And so they also are in the process of creating 2 positions on the ground that are solely dedicated to creating those apprenticeships. And so, again, that's one of those options where the city is coming around them, they're bringing partners to the table, but they are bringing resources to help with that. So they're creating not only the positions to focus on that, but already embedded in that software are 14 registered apprenticeships already. So there's not a whole lot of guesswork in it for the employer that may want to adopt those apprenticeships. They already come ready with those. And there's room for expansion also if an employer says that they want to maybe explore some other area within their workforce. And so, as you can see, we also have collaborative investors, not only just the City of Chattanooga, but the Benwood Foundation, Hamilton County Government, Chattanooga 2.0, and Hamilton County Department of Education. And then we have another opportunity called Persevere Now, and they actually are based out of Nashville, and they received a $15 million EDA grant. And that is focusing on providing IT training and IT job opportunities to those who are low income and or have a criminal background or who are just as involved. And so that organization is looking to serve all 95 counties. And so their target is over 1,700 individuals, and they want to have a 70% job placement goal. So pretty ambitious. But they were actually introduced to me by another partner, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee. And they said, hey, we'd love for you all to talk with them. Not sure where this will lead, but we think this will be a good fit. And so when I spoke with their representatives, it was obvious that this was something that needed to happen. And of course, I immediately thought about Councilwoman Coonrod and the work that she's doing. And so we actually pulled together a number of ecosystem partners, 43 in all, 30 attended. We're still talking with some of them about how they can partner with this effort and see how they can actually be a part of bringing on individuals who traditionally are left outside of the workforce pipeline. And currently, I know Councilwoman Coonrod is speaking with them to just see how can we better align our efforts to make sure that those who are just as involved actually get served in the best way possible. And so this leads us towards the end here, just on kind of where our strategy is. And so, as you can see, it talks about talent development hubs. And before I get into that, just looking at that first bullet point, currently myself and a number of city officials are involved with the National League of Cities and their Southern Cities Economic Inclusion Initiative. And what that organization does in that particular cohort, it looks at economic disparities within southern cities to try to strategize solutions that will lead to long-term outcomes for them to actually have a chance and an equal opportunity at economic advancement. And so just going through that cohort and thinking through some of the things that we've done historically in the department, it really has informed the way that we want to go about our strategy. And it really isn't a deviation from what originally was thought about back in 2016 with the Bridging the Gap report, because one of the suggestions that they made in there was that there needed to be targeted efforts within communities where there were economic disparities. And so going through the cohort just solidified that approach for us. And so as you can see in bullet 3, it says that we are currently exploring a pilot of talent development hubs and community centers to bring employers, community organizations, and community members together to develop collaborative solutions for workforce development, training, and employment. And our goal is to have community centers regularly offer workforce development opportunities. And with that being a pilot, it could be the community centers. We know that we have real estate when it comes to our libraries. You know, we want to be as flexible as possible so that these opportunities are available to people in the communities. Because again, we know that sometimes there are issues when it comes to transportation, sometimes with childcare. And so being able to bring those services to the community can take that burden off of the back of people who are already trying to look for solutions and maybe are hampered by some of those impediments. And so currently right now in that effort, we are partnering with Southeast Tennessee Development District. So of course that represents the American Job Center who's listed there. And they also are the ones who oversee or work in partnership with rather the Workforce Development Board. So we're bringing in other partners that we've worked with maybe on a small scale in the past, but really trying to catalyze them and bring them on full force with us. But also too, we're engaging the Goodwill of Greater Chattanooga. They too have a number of services that reach targeted communities. One community in particular that I think about is our elderly community that still has to work. Many of those individuals who are 55 and over who are struggling financially many times don't know where to go. And so Goodwill of Greater Chattanooga has really been instrumental with their CSEP program to actually help those individuals out. And they have a number of other services too that can help a wider array of people. But then also too, as I mentioned before, the City of Chattanooga Human Resources Department is looking to also provide services on a regular basis at the community centers so that individuals who want to know about jobs with the city, and as you can see from the previous slide, 319 individuals applied for positions. And so we know there's a desire, so even helping people to navigate through what may seem like choppy waters of trying to figure out how do they actually apply for a job with the city, what's required, or even just having that point of reference with someone who actually is with HR. And then also too, I put in brackets there, but also we have the Community Development Department and specifically the community centers. This doesn't happen without them. They have a lot that's going on. And so sometimes when you have different entities trying to come there, they feel like it's one more thing, right? But they also saw the importance of making sure that not only are we providing recreational services to the community, but that we're providing other services that will help people to actually be in a better economic situation. So they've been really helpful in this process as we explore it. And then also Chattanooga State, because they have been a primary partner in providing those technical skills or technical skill training opportunities. And so in talking with them, they are prepared to see about taking the show on the road. So rather than requiring people to come just to their campus for all of their services, they do have some services that they're willing to provide right there in the community. And I slid this in kind of last minute, and I wish I could have put the graphic in here. So on March 16th, we are hosting a labor and trade fair at the South Chattanooga Community Center. And this conversation started several months ago. I want to say maybe October, November, when Councilwoman Dotley approached me and said that, hey, I want to do something around workforce development in my community. Not really sure what that looks like, but let's talk about it. Fast forward about 3 months later, the labor groups approached me and said, hey, we want to do something in South Chattanooga. I said, well, rather than us trying to do 2 or 3 different things, why don't we bring our resources together and figure out how we can make it something that will really have some strong impact for the community. And so that effort will occur on March 16th from 2 to 5 at the South Chattanooga Community Center. And the labor groups, they gave us this information. They have over 200 apprenticeship slots available. What they've often struggled with is getting the word out. And so again, it's not our job as the convener to try to do everything, But one thing we can do is be a doggone good cheerleader for the work that is going on. And so I think this effort will be a first step in really kicking off the ideal of talent development hubs. And so hopefully you all will be able to come out as you can. But I think this will be a good event and a good way to kind of step into this new approach to workforce development. And of course, if you ever have any questions, again, Quentin Lawrence, Director of our department, my email and phone number is up there. And then also Dr. Greg Harwood, our Senior Project Manager, is available to answer any questions as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to the council.
All right, any question? I can't really see if it's any questions or not.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll hold the light. I have to hold the button.
If I can't see it, don't mash it.
Quentin, thank you for that presentation. This is a little awkward as I have to hold the button on this microphone. It's brand new fancy system. Tyson's absolutely just twisting back there right now. Fantastic stuff, Quentin. Don't go too far. My question for you was, as I hold this button over here, is we have in the past, we've had a summer jobs program. Are we implementing that again this summer?
For youth?
For youth, yes.
I believe so, and I should have clarified, so with our office, it's solely focused on adults. So it wouldn't interfere with any of that process that's being done. I didn't want to take up too much time, but I will mention this. We did partner with public safety again this winter, so with Chris Sands and his team. And so we connected them with the American Job Center to host a winter job fair for young people. And so I know that they are also planning for a spring job fair as well, but I don't see any interference with anything else. But again, we're not directly in that lane though.
So if someone were to want to engage with your office, they can contact your office, or
Yes.
what would be the best number for someone to say, because this is fantastic. I'm looking at avenues and tentacles everywhere, which I think is what is so important and impressive about what you're doing here. But is this the number that they would call anybody
Right.
to get plugged in and start the process?
Yep. So Dr. Harwood and I, we are a tag team. So as you can see, we are small, but we are mighty. So we would welcome anyone to contact us. And really, again, and if you'll notice, anyone that goes to our website, so we have taken it down for maintenance because we want that site to also be a hub as well for resources in the community around workforce development. But if anyone has questions, whether it's this event or maybe other resources in the ecosystem, they are more than welcome to email us or to call us, because people already do it now, and so it wouldn't be outside of our normal day.
Great. One last thing, Madam Chair. So you mentioned, basically what I heard was meeting people where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Have we thought in areas of, as far as marketing, kind of one of the things I do, is maybe even going out with simple yard signs in neighborhoods, placing them in places where people could see the phone numbers, they're walking by, hey, you know what, what's that? And I mean, because that might be, when you talk about meeting people where they're at, maybe the marketing could go right to them and go right into the heart of some of our neighborhoods. Yeah. It's just an idea.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm certainly not opposed to it. We know that even with some of the communities that we're looking at, especially those that have economic disparities, sometimes digital equity and access is an issue.
Yeah.
So even with this event that we have coming up on the 16th, we're actually putting flyers out in the community. So even putting signs out in the yard, even if they want to know, hey, how do I get in touch with the Office of Workforce Development? We're not opposed to it at all. So anything that we can do to make sure that people have access, that's really the key. Access, and then once they get access, to build their resiliency in the workforce.
They sound a little old-fashioned, but never underestimate the power of a yard sign.
Not at all, not at all.
All right, thank you for your work. I appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes,
may also respond. So prior to COVID, we did have an outreach program where we actually did go door to door in communities that had high unemployment. And we stopped that during COVID, and that's pretty labor intensive.
Sure.
And so we do intend to continue to do outreach through community centers, but I don't know that we'll go door to door, but I do think that we could certainly put signs out.
Yeah, I mean, pretty cost effective, maybe. Yeah, very good. Thank you so much. Madam Chair, thank you.
Any other questions? I get, I think it's good. I don't think it's gonna, oh, did it come on? Aight. Is it on? Aight?
Thank you, Quentin, for what you do and for your office, and not forgetting the seniors. And I pray you continue to be on the cutting edge when it comes to our seniors and bringing them more opportunities. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
I think I got it working over here, left. Any other questions? I would know, Quentin, all I got was, man, where were you at in 18? I mean, it took us 5 years only to get an update on what the department doing. But thank you for the work that you're doing, and I'm dead serious when I say that. I see Jermaine back there kind of hiding, but,
Well, I'll
thank
give you a quick on that. So in 18, actually, when the department started, the director then actually reached out to me when I was working in the nonprofit sector. So I was aware of the work that you all were doing and trying to do in the community. So just really glad to see it come around full circle and be a part of it.
Yes, me too. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, now we're going to legislative committee.
All right, thank you very much. Call to order our legislative committee meeting. A motion on the minutes?
So moved.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. Stand as reported. Thank you very much. We only have one item to go over in committee this afternoon. There is an item being brought forward by Vice Chair Dotley that she'll give us a little bit of an update on regarding consumption of alcoholic beverages and beer prohibited in certain places. So with that, Vice Chair Dotley, would you like to go over the ordinance? Everybody should have a copy and a redlined version. Thank you very much for providing that in your packet. Madam Vice Chair.
And this legislation is co-sponsored by myself and Councilwoman Knoll. This is specifically for Station Street, because Councilwoman Knoll is in her district, but the issues that persist in it spill over into District 7 because it's right literally across the street. But the issues the basic issue is public safety. There's been persistent issues with crime that spills over into the Main Street, Coward Place area. So with that, we want to begin to really look at public safety when we have streets like Station Street. So there are two amendments that that me and Councilwoman Knowles spoke about, that we wanted to bring before the council for discussion. The first is no through vehicular traffic between, on Station Street from Thursday at 8 p.m. through Sunday at 7 a.m. Right now, I don't know if any of you have been on Station Street, during these hours. But, there's people there, there's traffic there, and it causes a lot of confusion and cluster, especially because there's open drinking. So you have your cups, you have people walking. It's just a lot of confusion and a lot of things. In addition to that, a lot of times issues spill out into the street and you have people driving by, and it's just a really big safety concern. It's something that probably should have been done, especially during the weekend hours because it's so busy in that area. The second one is each business located within or adjacent to Station Street must collectively provide general security. Right now, some of the businesses have individual security, but there's no security on Station Street. And that also leads into that public safety issue because let's say there's an incident at one of the nightclubs or one of the places there. It spills out into the street. There's no one there to regulate that. There's no one talking to CPD. There's nothing. And then it rolls on over into Coward Place. It rolls on over into Reed Avenue, over near the cigar bar. And now there's this bigger issue. People are shooting. People are fighting. There's violence because that issue wasn't addressed directly on Station Street, which it could have been if there was some type of collective security because CPD is not private security. That is for our public safety. So this will allow the businesses, urge the businesses to have a collective security that will report to CPD each year. They'll report on an annual basis, letting us know who the contract is with, and CPD will know. And also, I think it sets the standard as other spaces begin to maybe want to have this type of Station Street feel. And this is just for Station Street. So if other spaces want to do it, this gives them an idea of what they maybe want to look at. But in this instance, there's just so much going on Station Street. So much spills over. I get so many calls, and there's so much violence that spills out of there that at some point we have to do something. And so that's what this legislation is about. So if Councilwoman Knoll has anything, or if there are any questions about it, please let me know.
No, you covered it.
Okay, thank you.
Burrs.
Thank you. So let me ask you, I'm just thinking about Chattanooga when there's events here, and particularly in the summertime when people are rolling out on the streets all day long. Is your legislation, does it go far enough?
This is specifically for Station Street.
No, I'm talking Station Street.
I think for public safety purposes, because a lot of the times the issues are between these hours, that the darker it gets, people out there drinking.
Year round?
Yeah, year round.
It's not heavier in the summer?
No, I've had winter calls when it's cold, because I'm always surprised when I get a call in the winter, 'cause I'm like, it's kind of cold.
I was just thinking that
It's all around.
yeah, that's what I was,
Oh, I see, yeah, it's all around. It's a consistent issue. It's not just the summertime or spring, but it's a consistent issue and things that consistently happen, that spill over into people's neighborhoods. They're home and their homes, they're here.
only on the weekends though. In the
Yes, on the
summer,
weekends.
it's not during the whole week. That's all I was thinking.
No, I hadn't heard much of it.
Okay. Thank you.
You good,
Yes.
Councilwoman? Okay. Councilwoman Hill?
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Councilwoman Dotley and Councilwoman Knoll, for bringing this to us. I know it's been a concern within your districts. I had a suggestion for item 6, just a tweaking of the language. I have my little English major hat on. The each business and then collectively made me stumble a little bit, and so I wondered if we might tweak that language for clarity, something to the effect of, and I can type this up for Phil and you all to consider, but each business located within or adjacent to Station Street must contribute financially to a security contract that provides general security solely for the purpose of public safety on Station Street. To, I guess, expand what that concept of collectively is versus each business collectively. So I'll send that to you for you all to consider. Thank you.
Cool.
Good, thank you. Any more questions?
All right, I'm not seeing any delays, but I have a few questions. All right. This is, and Councilwoman Burrs may have touched on this a little bit, so you may have kind of answered, but just for clarification. Number 5, the change that you have here as far as the closure, is this every week, all year long? And is this a mandated closure?
Yes, every week, all year long, mandated closure.
And who is responsible for that closure?
They'll need to coordinate with, I guess, CDOT to make sure that it's closed.
Okay, so when we hear they,
I'm sorry, the businesses adjacent to, within or adjacent to Station Street, they'll need to coordinate with CDOT to make sure that it's closed, and all the expenses are theirs.
so the expectation is that there will be some, and I know it says collective, as Councilwoman Hill was touching on below, but there'll be some group responsible for ensuring that the street is closed. All right, not the city. Okay, and then that closure is, it says Station Street, but just to clarify, it only goes down to the end where it intersects Rossville Avenue, is that correct?
That is correct, from Market to Rossville Avenue.
Okay, because there are parking lots that obviously would be a lot harder to access if it went
Right.
much further than that.
And then for access for the parking lots, there's access off of Main Street, and also there's an open alleyway on Rossville Avenue.
Right, for them to come, yeah, and that's why I was wondering, making sure that that's where it was. Okay, so that covers the parking lot access.
So I want to touch on one thing that Councilwoman Hill did mention, specifying each business shall contribute financially, which may be what collectively is. If there are businesses that choose not to, does this mean that the road cannot, or whether it's closed or not, but people cannot drink there if there is let's say, a single business that chooses not to contribute? I would be concerned about mandating that every business does, because I may not want to. I may not have patrons that take alcohol out of my business, so I may not choose to participate, which means that nobody gets to. So I just want to make sure that we're careful in how we're legislating that for people that may not wish to take part in this. Phil, I have one question. I think it would be more for you.
Yes.
We have edited number 5 and number 6, but if you read the content in G, it states following conditions are met. And then the way that they are edited, they don't really sound like conditions any longer. I don't know that no through vehicular traffic is allowed along Station Street from Thursday to 8 p.m. to Sunday at 7 a.m. is a condition any longer. It sounds more like a mandate. So I don't know if it's in the right place. Maybe it should be up there with F and G at that level, instead of like it is allowed if a condition is met, and then we're mandating a street be closed. It just doesn't sound like a condition anymore.
Okay.
So I would just question legally if it's in the right place. And number 6 starts to sound that way as well. It's no longer if security is there or if the street is closed. That's more of a condition to me than mandating a particular change. So I just wanted to bring that up and make sure that these items are brought, if they are not conditions of G, they are brought into their own, be it an I, maybe, as other letters. And well, I don't know if you want to read through that to kind of think through it, but mandating a street being closed doesn't sound like a condition being met. It sounds like a mandate that we would want. So we might want to keep 5 if the street is closed, and then have up here around F and G, the street will be closed at these times. Then that covers both, and it forces the mandate that the street is closed. I'm just not sure that is clear as a condition there. The only other thing that I had, Phil, as well, is the last sentence in 6. I believe that may need to be all security contracts must be filed and not filled. Okay, got it. All right. That was me and my little English hat too.
Got that.
All right. That was all I had. I don't know if there's any, I do have one other. Chairman Ledford, please.
Thank you, Chairman. My question is real simple. Have we vetted this or run this through our emergency responders to make sure they have no issues or have any issues that they need to chime in on? As I see our fire department back here, especially. That's a rhetorical question. You can address it. I just want to make sure we have an input from our first responders. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Absolutely. Councilwoman Burrs.
So, let me make sure I understand the intent here. The intent here is the street will be closed for a certain amount of days for safety reasons, and yet we're putting it on the owners to do that?
Yeah.
The city isn't doing that?
No.
So, I want this to work, and I'm wondering, is this any sort of class legislation, Phil?
We're dealing with a location which is the only location in the city that is allowed to sell alcohol on the streets. So I think it is directly attributable to those locations that are there in that area. And those are the only individuals that are allowed to sell alcohol and allow people to walk on the streets in that location. So I do not think so. I think that is, yes.
So what happens if they don't?
Then at that point in time, this is a provision in the beer code, and that would be a violation of their beer permit, and it could be subject to revocation.
And conceively their alcohol as well, right?
Yes, ma'am.
They're
By
connected.
the TABC, that would be regulated by the state. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And this is available because there is a state law provision that allows the consumption of alcohol only in certain places here in the state.
Right.
And this is in a state statute as well.
Okay, I just want to make sure, I think their idea is a great one. I just want to make sure it works. I feel like there may be all sorts of challenges to it from the private sector, and I just want to make sure that we're solid.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Are you good, Councilwoman?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Blank again. Anybody have any further questions?
I have a question.
Councilwoman Coonrod, please.
I know in December, the end of December, Senator Gardenhire had introduced a bill to revoke the entertainment status of Station Street for these very same reasons. But my question, so I'm not sure how far that it went, but for no through traffic, so where would, I know there's several parking lots that's on Station Street, so how would they access the parking lots if they're closed from 8
It's
to 7?
Open alleyway on Rossville Avenue, so you can come back to Rossville Avenue and drive down through the parking lot, or you can also access it from Main Street.
Okay.
That's all you had, Councilwoman? Mm-hmm. Any further questions? All right, seeing nothing further, we will adjourn Legislative Committee, and we have attorney-client, sir. Great. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.